Hey everybody, welcome back to the Krāv Show. Another week with Chris and JRuss. And this week we've got the one and only world famous clothing extraordinaire guru, Rob Delaney. Hey Rob.
Hey mate, how are you? Good to see you guys. Thank you
Good.
for such an elaborate intro.
That was on the fly. Yeah.
Hey, I
So
became
everybody, welcome
aroused
back.
through you, to be honest.
Good to have you with us, man.
I think your star was rising. If I might have gotten in the way a little bit, but I think you were on the way without me. But we'll talk a little bit about that. People can make their own decision, I guess. But what we were talking about just before the show, that I quit drinking while I was in Australia, and Rob said why. And so in at the 2018 World Meet that was in the Gold Coast, we were there. What did we have right after? Oh, there was a tunnel meet in Bahrain, kind of right after it, like 10 days after, which 10 days was like enough time to travel home and get unjet lagged and then immediately turn around and travel back. So Steph has a friend named Angela Teal, who married Peter Teal, who is an Australian, and they moved to the northwest corner of Australia in a little town called Geraldton. So we flew from the Gold Coast over to Perth. How did we get up to Geraldton? I think we drove. I think they picked us up. It was a hike. Australia's a big place.
I'm sure it's a drive.
Yeah, and like in Geraldton on the east end of the town, there's a sign that's like, there's not another petrol station for 450 kilometers or something. Don't go out here unless you're prepared. And I'm sure people still mess that up. But anyway, so we flew over to Perth. We went to visit
all the time
her friend in Geraldton. And either the last night in Geraldton or my first night in Bahrain.
Bad people stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a little bit of a delay, huh? Light speed isn't that fast when you're on the other side of the globe.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try.
For everybody who's
leave.
listening or watching, Rob is in Australia, and so we do have a little bit of a second and a half or 2 second delay.
Yeah, tank of petrol.
Gosh, what's wrong with technology? Yeah. So anyway, I had chicken both the last night in Geraldton in Australia and the first night in Bahrain, and then I got sick. And for the meet, I got sick the first training day, which was the day before the meet, and I mean like very bad. I was passing out at the tunnel. I would go fly around. I would pass out in the antechamber. Everybody went out to dinner. I was coming out of both ends. I passed out on the bathroom floor. I passed out twice trying to get back to my bed. I did the meet in pretty much the same way, like explode out of both ends, do the round, go to sleep. Somebody would wake me up, tell me what the round was. I would explode in the bathroom, do the round, fall asleep. So the airplane ride home was pretty atrocious. Luckily, we got upgraded, which was super nice. And I mean, like a lot of people, I don't really love going to the doctor. So I waited. And at about 3 weeks, Steph was like, "You're going to the doctor." I can't eat anything. I lost about 20 pounds. I don't really have 20 pounds to lose. So I go to the doctor. They check me out. They take a stool sample. They give me some antibiotics. I leave. They called me at like 8 exactly in the morning the next day, not 8:01. And they're like, you need to come back here right now. What we gave you is not going to work. Like right now, today, drive here now. We need to give you something else. People die from what you have. And so I had a foodborne illness called Campylobacter, which I had never heard of. And the people at the doctor's office kind of told me, take these antibiotics, don't stop, take them all. I leave the doctor's office 10 minutes after I got there. They're like, go home. You're not going to feel better for a while. Sit on the couch. And while I'm driving home, the CDC called me. Where have you been? Who have you been with? What did you eat? Who else is sick? We need their phone numbers. So Campylobacter is like E. coli on a couple of cycles of steroids. And it kills people, not old or young people, but it just kills people. And
what?
So it was about another week before I could eat. And so it had been just over a month before I had anything other than liquids. And I looked like a war survivor, like I had been starving myself. I was so skinny. Of course, I hadn't drank alcohol the whole time. And when I got better, I just didn't pick it back up. I think I had a sip of beer at New Year's a couple of years after that, but it's been 5 or 6 years now. I just don't really miss it. So, heck of a story.
Dude, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a bad
Yeah.
story to
Wow.
finish up, though.
Yeah.
That's
Because it's such a
insane.
strange place that you would quit drinking in Australia. I'm surprised that anyone would allow you to do that here. That's all.
I don't know that the locals were aware of that transgression. All right, so Rob,
That's funny.
my 5-minute story. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, no, I wanted to say, one reason, we've got a couple reasons why we have Rob on this week. But one is that we are getting ready to release another course on the Krāv platform on the website, and this course is from Pete Allam. So if you don't know who Pete Allam is, he's really awesome. He's just an amazing guy. We've talked about him before. He's been skydiving. I think he started skydiving when he was like 14 years old. He's in his early 60s, I think. So he's been jumping for a long time. He has over 36,000 skydives. He is a student of skydiving. He's just such a neat guy, humble, kind, just a really neat guy, and super, super knowledgeable. So his course is going to be coming out here in the next couple of weeks. I'm super excited about it. But Rob, the reason we have him on is because Rob has a really cool business. Rob's company is called Manufactory. And real quick, Rob, give us kind of a elevator pitch or whatever, 30-second, 1-minute rundown of how did you guys get started?
And who
I'll pick
who
back
are
up on,
you? In
of course,
like, give us your
connects all
bio.
this. Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, look, so my name is Robert Delaney and my wife, Shelley Delaney. We actually the co-founders of Manufactory Apparel, and we are an action sports brand. So we came into the skydiving scene unrelated. We came from a fashion and a surfing background, but we started our license course, and then we got into skydiving pretty heavily, and we saw a real gap here when Shelley and we moved to the UAE, to Dubai for a few years, and noticed that we really could bring our expertise to this field, because we're in a niche where we need really extreme sports clothing, and instead of relying on everyone else's gear, we just wanted to bring our expertise here and do it for our community, and we have. And it's been 10 years now, and we've worked with every country. It's been amazing. There's a couple of stories there where we've, as any small business, where we've had to go up and down, but here we are now reconnecting with, I do say, with JRuss, who helped us start this, to be honest with you. And look, we're about to expand pretty heavily. We're making some really big plays in event sponsorships, and really focusing, though, more now on our ground roots, like connecting to our individual skydivers online. So we're in a really good place and really happy to be here.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you, Rob. So the way that this connects with Krāv, and I'm super excited because I was aware of Manufactory. I had been looking at you guys online and looking at your gear, and just really impressed with the quality of gear and jerseys and everything you guys have. And then, lo and behold, one day Rob reached out to me. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Manufactory is like connecting with Krāv. I don't know if I ever told you that, Robert. I was like super stoked that you reached out, and super excited to connect and talk. So what we're going to try to do is, for Pete's course, we're doing a little collaboration. With Rob's help, we have designed a Krāv jersey that we are going to make available. Eventually, it'll be available for purchase through Manufactory and through their sales outlets, sales channels. But initially, what we're going to do is, once we release Pete's course, once it goes live, we are going to, for every 10 new subscribers to the Krāv platform, we will give away a jersey to one of those 10 people. We'll put those names in a hat, draw out a name, and give a jersey to one of those people. And so we're going to do that for the first 100 subscribers after Pete's course is released. So that'll be 10 different people will get a free Krāv jersey
Huge.
from Manufactory. And I'm going to show you guys real quick, if I can, what the jersey will look like. Nope, that's not right. Sorry.
I just want to point out while Chris is looking for that, that you guys connected sort of coincidentally, and there's no coincidences.
There you go. That's right. So right here on the screen, can you guys see? You can see both of those jerseys, right? There's two different ones. Can y'all see that, JRuss?
That's right. We can see.
I can see it.
Yes. Okay. So it's the one number 2 with the big Krāv logo across the front. It's got the A icon on one of the shoulders. Do more, be better down the arm. And so this is the jersey that we're going to be giving away to 10 different subscribers. Those first 100 subscribers after we release Pete's course. Rob, what do you want to say? And what am I leaving out? What am I missing?
Well, so actually, like JRuss said, there is no coincidences. I was really, when I saw Krāv came out, I was gobsmacked. I was like, this is insane. This is amazing. It's content coaches that need to be listened to. This is safety. This is skills. So when I reached out, actually, it was overdue, to be honest with you. I just had to get the platform right. So I'm really thankful that you accepted the collaboration. Now, on that jersey, though, I will point out I am going to do something very special and release a brand new material that I've just traveled back from Asia and sort of like done. So those first few people who are getting this are getting something that is like innovated. It is like not even released yet. I am holding that back just for you guys.
That is awesome, man. I did not know that. I'm just learning this. That's super cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. We're releasing quite a lot of things, and I'm finding the right ways to do them. And I think that it would be to everyone's benefit who puts in the time and effort to upskill to get the best. And going back to why we started, that is why we started, to make sure that our sport and our community is taken care of. Now, we can only take care of them from the gear that they wear, the investments they make into that gear, and you're doing it in their education. So that's really why we're aligned here. I think, like I said, it's just overdue.
Man, that's awesome. That's really cool. Can you go over what is the different gear and apparel merchandise that you guys have available?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, we started when we first got to our business, we'd already spent a few years at Skydive Dubai with JRuss there, and under JRuss, where I was working there at the time, you know, really we were about getting the uniform to the staff, who were about, hey, these guys have to wear it in the heat, but you know, you're wearing it 5 days, 6 days a week. So our gear is made to, it started off very much like performance related for uniform. These guys have to wear the same top all the time. It's a big investment for drop zones. So that's where our jersey line came from. And our jerseys have been around now for a decade. To be honest, they've been absolutely minimal fit changes. Like, we designed the thing so well that we really didn't have to make huge changes, and it's a standout jersey. So apart from that, we're offering it now in lots of different variations. So materials these days have gotten so much better over the last decade. Fabrics for, say, sweating and wicking and smelling, just wearability in general. And so the biggest change for us going ahead is developing jerseys with 3/4 sleeves, short sleeves, maybe a few different neck styles, and actually tweaking it up to be a little bit more fashionable. So we've got jerseys are going to, the main components of them being that they have to be durable, wearable, and performance related will stay there. But starting to, now that they're so widely accepted and accessible, we're going to start to tweak it up a little bit, make it a little bit more fun instead of just the print, which is what we're known for, but just shake that up. We're also, though, we've got a lot of bottoms now, Cordura bottoms, tandem master pants, things that are all bulletproof for the bottom side. So we've had a lot of success by changing the way people shop from everything has to be custom measured, to no, we can do commercial sizing. So we've done a lot of had a lot of success with our bottoms, our shorts, and even those have changed. Like if you look at the trend of skydiving now, things have gotten much thinner, much skinnier. So we've released a lot of the fabrics had to match, but basically like much tighter fitting shorts and pants. And they've just released earlier this year, but we're really sort of dialing that up with new colors towards the American summer now. Apart from that, we offer a range of jumpsuits, promotional items, the scarves, the pull-up cords. We still hold very true to the fact that we want to be a sourcing agent for anyone who doesn't have the skill set or the time to find their own merchandise. We still want to be a helpful hand. And if we don't stock it or hold it, we're always out there finding it for people. Basically, our motto is that if we don't approve its quality level, we're not going to offer it as a product.
Yeah. And for everybody listening, the website, if you want to go check out their website and their merchandising gear, it's manufactoryapparel.com. So MANU, and then factory, APPAREL.com.
It's such a mouthful, right?
Okay, so Rob, I just had a question. I guess it's a pretty broad one, but I remember when we were in Dubai together that somewhere along the line you started taking trips to, I think, China and maybe other parts of Asia, and I feel like probably for your business that was helpful to be able to see kind of how things get done there and make some contacts. But for a lot of people, myself included, I don't really understand the process of like how do you get stuff to market? Like, how often do you still have to travel to China, and are you using the same contacts, and what happens when you go over there? And do you ever feel like you're going to get big enough that you're the North Face and you leave and they run off 1,000 more of your product and sell it at 10 cents each?
Yeah. Okay, so it is a broad question, but it's an awesome question, and the timing on that couldn't be better. So before I made it to Dubai, I'd already been in the fashion industry. I got to Dubai when I was 29. I'd already been in the fashion industry since 20, so for 9 years. And in that 9 years, I had actually already traveled, I think, like 6 times to Thailand and various parts of China. In Australia, our manufacturing moved offshore through the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s to China. So basically that became the place to go. There's a lot of manufacturing around the world these days, India, Pakistan, as well as like Europe, but we honestly don't manufacture there. And there is reasons to it, and that leads into the next part where, yes, we do have the same team on the ground in China, and we've worked with them for more than 12 years. So even before Dubai, they've been a contact that I've had, and the relationships that you have with these suppliers, for anyone, it's not about going somewhere and saying I need 10 t-shirts, or actually I remember a very good friend of ours who I brought to China with us while we were in Dubai, and I had to sort of slow him down a bit every time we'd go meet a new supplier. He'd jam in there with like, what's your minimum order quantity? How much is this? And I was, whoa, like just pull back a little bit, because with China, it's all about developing relationships. So the relationship we have, 12 years. Now, I didn't get to go to China, obviously, due to COVID. So I just came back last week, and I spent 2 weeks there, and that wasn't long enough. And I love it. Like, I love getting on the ground in China. So how that happens is, first you establish a contact. Now, I've had this contact for 12 years. And there's been lots of business that I've put through this contact. And then when I said I wanted to start my own business, I was extremely lucky that they wanted to branch out on their own. So the partnership grew. So now what we have is not so much like, hey, this is a guy that makes all of our stuff. Very much it's a partnership. Now, if you jump on our social media, you'll see I posted a lot of behind the scenes just last week. And one of them is like the new mill that we're going to, and it's huge. And that partnership couldn't have, I show him our business, they show us their business, and both of us couldn't be where we are without each other's help. So it very much is a partnership. Now, why that's important too is the reliability that I'm able to offer my customers or our customers or even just our community, and then the guarantees on top of that. Someone's neck stitching breaks or someone put Velcro on or something very small happened. We're able to like, hey, we'll help you out here, you know, so that relationship in China and that understanding is really important. And getting on the ground there, it's a totally different world. No matter how many times I've been there, and this time was no different. So this time around, post-COVID, I mean, you're talking about electric vehicles everywhere, no pollution, no smog, completely different to what it was in 2018 when I was last there. So I went there in 2018, and if I could, I'd go every year. But 2019, they came over to us in Australia. So that was another big thing. You know, they come and we show them around. It's very much a relationship. This time too, I have manufactories operated by a remote team. The reason it was designed that way is so that we can skydive, we can go the tunnel, we can surf whenever we want, we can travel wherever we want. And the business operates remote. Yes, you can see me in my head office here, but we have remote staff, and I was actually able to bring them to China. So this time it was about as well, hey, let's all get together. And again, if you check out our social media, you'll see we're sitting around in the supplier hub, like we're eating with them, we're making dumplings together, you know, so the suppliers always want to take you out, always. And my wife Shelley's always like, don't you go over there and just eat and drink rice wine. I'm like, okay, I'll try not to. But you know, they always want to like welcome you to the country, and you do it here. They come here, it's like, come on, we'll go see everything. But it was very much a work trip, this last one. So yeah, they came over here in 2019 and we had COVID. So it was my first time back, and I was itching to get back. I mean, we were in Indonesia just on a bit of another trip to see suppliers and working 2 weeks before it, but I was itching to get to China. And there was days there that honestly I spent 11 hours just on the factory floor because I love it. I absolutely love the factory floor. I love being with the workers, cutting, sewing, seeing the whole thing happen. It's a real, like, that's what keeps me going. And I'd rather be there most of the time than a lot of the other stuff. So yeah, like when you get there to China, look, at the end of the day, people have their own conceptions about, you know, what it looks like, what it's like. But for me, I've been very fortunate to spend the majority, like 2 decades of my fashion career, and more than half of that with one supply team. So it's it really is amazing. And I still meet new suppliers all the time, but anyone who works with our business has been, geez, now they've been working with us for a decade. Like, that's the truth of it. Like, if you can hold on to a relationship for that long in anything, even in life, it's a pretty big thing, I think.
Rob,
That's awesome, man. I mean, it seems, listening to you say all that stuff, it seems pretty obvious that it really is a mutually beneficial partnership. And it sounds like a true partnership.
Yeah, it has to be too, because there's trust. Like, there's a lot of trust at the end of the day, and especially with remote working and international transfers, finance. You know, even during COVID, we would speak all the time. How's the health of our businesses? How's our families? How's things like that? I mean, my daughter, who's 4 now, she's got presents when she was born every single year from their team. You know, like it's amazing. I'm going to put up a little bit more stories now about our team. I feel like it's much more widely accepted and acknowledged these days. It's part of everyone's story, and it is part of our story, and we are proud of it. So it's time for us to sort of share that as well, I think.
I was just going to ask you, I mean, just hearing you talk about the lack of pollution and a lot of electric cars, and it made me think about, I'm not, I won't watch the news here. I rarely on social media, but when I do pick up anything, you know, China's kind of, I mean, our government's propaganda is kind of that China's part of the big two now of Russia and China, that we got to be fearful of, or maybe Iran is the big three. But it's so clear that your experience is completely different than anything that we might be getting through, mainstream media. And not only do you have friends there, but it sounds like you really enjoy the culture, and your perception right off the bat sounds different than what we're being told, if I don't know, maybe that's the mainstream media story right now, but because I haven't listened for so long, but I seriously doubt it. What I think of China as this communist country where everyone's
Yeah.
impoverished, communism doesn't work, the farm stuff doesn't work, everybody moved to the city, nobody's having kids, the economy is about to collapse, and they're going to have civil war. So, I mean, the just to hear you say, oh, it's great, and they take us out for food, and we know their families, and that just if you don't mind taking a minute to just expand a little bit more on the personal side of what you see when you go there,
Yeah.
because most people don't travel there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to, actually. So I too have tried to really get rid of the mainstream media as much as possible. It can get pretty just engrossing, and some of the stuff is just bold-faced rubbish. And so with China, I remember in 2018, the last time I was there, we're driving through the countryside, and if anyone, look, you won't see this stuff in mainstream America, and you probably see it if you cross the border, just down to Mexico or something, but it is different lifestyle. Okay, and a great example is when I say that we all eat together, I mean, there's no going to the bar and ordering, I'm going to have cheeseburger and this person's going to have the steak. No, you order 20 dishes and everyone jumps in together. That's where the is it a Lucy? What's a lucky the round table? I can't remember. But this is where it all comes from, and we share, and it's a shared experience. Everyone gets some food, and no one gorges. No one goes and puts spoonfuls on their plates oh, it's a buffet, I got to grab my stuff. You've got your chopsticks, and one piece of pork, one piece of, Chinese cabbage, one dumpling or something, a bit of fish. Hey, you keep sharing, so that's actually super enjoyable. And what was funny is when we brought their team to Australia, we all of a sudden found ourselves going, that's not how they eat. And it's actually great. So we're we need 10 croissants, and we need all this stuff because we're all sharing. And now, obviously, in Western culture, we're like, what do you mean you're all sharing? How are you going to share a chicken parmigiano with chips? It's well, we're going to have to find a way because that's how we all eat now. So, that part of experience is very fun. But also, I remember driving out, one of my, so the boss there, he'll always talk to me about, oh, Australia's a rich country. What do you mean you don't have electric cars and this? And I said, I know it looks that way, but there's a lot of things that we don't do correctly. I mean, I've been getting sucked in a bit recently with the mainstream media on Australia's gas and oil and how they export and taxes. But look, for the outside world, we look, it's amazing, and yeah, we make these other guys out to be villains. But I said to them, your country is beautiful. I mean, it's tropical, it's humid, it's 25, I don't know what 25 degrees Celsius is, but I think it's maybe 70s or 80s, and it's beautiful, it's humid, and there's green lush gardens everywhere. There's farms and rice paddies and cows everywhere. Now, they have a rubbish problem at times, and most Southeast Asian countries do. But, I mean, it's no different to, if you went to the Maldives, a picturesque island, but there's islands full of rubbish, garbage that you don't see. And these are the things I see a lot of the time. You go to China, there's so many stories I have of China, and Hong Kong's one of my favorite places in the whole world. And I must have been there, I think I counted 18 times in my passport. You can go down some places in Hong Kong and it's just Westerner, expat, or beautiful shiny buildings, but you can turn around and there's rubbish and fish and just, it's gross. But it's it's just part of any experience. I'm sure if you traveled, and I haven't done enough travel around the Northern Hemisphere in these places, but I'm sure you would find similar things. But so getting back to it, there's the innovation there. And one of the big reasons too why I'll stand up hey, yeah, we manufacture out of China. Yeah, I'm not going to say we don't, is because they are so innovative. All right. You cannot beat the Chinese at how they manufacture goods or anything, right? Like, honestly, from physical capabilities to their machinery, like it's all built there. You can't replicate this stuff in Western countries. And I'm not saying it from like a pollution standpoint, because China, with the EU, they've actually had to really, as they got cleaner, then they had to prove to the world that anyone they worked with was clean, which then meant the Chinese said, geez, if we want their business, we're going to have to step up. And they have. So if you were to look at it from a manufacturing standpoint, you would see that China is much more expensive than developing countries like India and Pakistan and Sri Lanka. And look, that's the costs come from, you know, the regulations. Like, okay, we've got to clean up, we've got to be safer, so costs have to go up. And in China at the moment, I mean, the electric vehicles, they blew my mind. We've got 3 in Australia: Tesla, BYD, and Polestar or something. And the costs of them they're outstanding. It's outrageous. Whereas in China, man, I was looking around going, Jesus, there's another one. And they said there's like 30 different EV companies, and the cars are amazing. I just look at them going, I don't understand how everyone is not driving one of these. The acceleration in them, the safety in them, the performance, they are just like, you know, even down to the little things like accidents and regenerative braking and things. It's just mind blowing. And I can understand how, like, I haven't been to Russia, so I don't know if the reason China and Russia together, because they're leading the world in innovation. I couldn't imagine so. But I can understand other countries. Like, I know that America is very much against letting their car industry go. That's understandable. It signifies jobs and things. But I think the biggest thing people are scared of is like, innovation scares everyone. Like, it really does. It freaks them out. No one likes change. And we see it all the time. You know, I mean, we honestly changed the button on our shorts, and people just like, what's wrong? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you do that? And I think people just get scared of having to adapt, personally. And every time I travel, it's scary. It doesn't matter. I say this to Shelley all the time. Like, the first day, whenever I travel, even in the same place, it's always scary. But then you just have the biggest perspective shifts. You've just got to do it. Like, you can't sit back and say, oh, I'm never going there because of something I don't even experience.
Rob, I wanted to go back real quick to what you were talking about, the sharing meals and food and all that stuff. So my wife and our kids, our family, we lived in Thailand for 8 years.
Wow.
And it's exactly, I mean, when you talk about the food, it's almost exactly the same. And we just learned to really enjoy that. When you go and sit down, you just expect that everybody's going to order a bunch of stuff, but we're all going to share it. And it's so awesome because you get to try so many different things. You're not stuck with just your one dish, you get to, and everybody's really engaged and a part of it. It just lets you see how valuable meal times can be for relationship building and for connecting with people and talking and laughing and telling stories and telling jokes and goofing off and sometimes serious, and sometimes people, have a chance to connect and get things off their chest, or, it's just those meal times when we share those times together are so valuable. And that's very similar. We've
100%
come back
right.
and it's like we want to import that into Texas and our culture here, and the value of those family meal times.
One thing that happened too, just on meal times, which I thought you just reminded me of, and maybe a lot of people don't know of this. So in China, the tables, basically the tables are rounded. If you're a supplier, you experience this very often. You get there and you sit down, and you're on the right-hand side of the supplier. And as you go around the table, that's the order of hierarchy. Because you're the guest of honor, you're on their right. And then the next one, and then say this trip I had 2 of my team with me. So it was me, my team, and then his first in line. Then next one, the production manager, the shipping manager, the head of manufacturing, all the way around to the newest hire until who's on the left. Now, the cool thing, right, like I explained this to my team because they hadn't seen it before, but the boss, obviously my supply team, he would stand up and he would individually cheers them, thank them. And then when his wife came, they would get up as a pair, individually cheers, point. Sometimes, like as the guest, I would stand up as well. And then sometimes he would say, no, look, this one's just for me or something. Everyone, every single person. So even though there's an order of hierarchy, there was an absolute respect and a thankfulness all the way around the table. So it would be like going to the drop zone, and at the end of the day, Chief of Operations just gets everyone for a meal and then thanks every single person from the guy who flew the plane right down to the newest packer on the mat. And it was really like by the end of the trip, because I think I'd been there for a couple of weeks, so we went to dinner every single night. But by the end of the trip, I was getting up and I started thanking my staff. It had just rubbed off. It was like, yeah, you're right. There is respect here, and we should acknowledge it. And everyone, and then you go to like, it was one I watched the other day about fashion and labor, and I still love watching sort of the battle of people saying slave labors and sweatshops and fashion and stuff. And I'm not going to say it's not there, but like I said to you guys earlier on, I was spending 10, 11 hours in the factory floor, and that's just out of like sheer love for being there. I mean, ask any skydiver, why are you sitting at the drop zone for 12 hours a day? Like, aren't you, like, it's the exact same thing while I'm on the floor with the team. Like, we're just sitting there, getting stuff done, talking, excited, go out to dinner. It's cool. It's definitely like, it must be, now that you've told me I'm painting a picture here, I don't mean to be. This is that wasn't my first trip to China. Like I said, I've been over 15 times to a bunch of different places there. The country's beautiful. If they would clean up a little bit more rubbish, and they have since COVID, like no pollution. You know, it's. I was even thinking about getting back over there just for the World Wingsuit League, because that's in a part of China which would be incredible to see firsthand.
You made me think of something else when you were telling about him, going around the circle and telling people thank you and honoring them, respecting them. And when we when we were living in Thailand, our neighbors across the street, it was an older couple who were basically like my parents' age, and then they had a daughter and her husband, and they all lived together in the same house. So it was 2 generations in the same house. And then the daughter had kids, and so 3 generations in the same house. But they became like family to us. I mean, we were right there, our yards connected. So my boys, I have 4 boys, they were riding their bikes all through the driveway, through the yard and everything. And they became like grandparents to my kids. And so they knew that my one son, he loved sticky rice. So they would always have sticky rice on hand for him. And they knew that my kids liked Fanta. So they always had orange Fanta for him when they're trying to get, hey, come get some Fanta. Like, we're like, no, stop. Just like grandparents, like, stop giving them Fanta, So there was a couple different times when we first got there when they would have kind of a special meal or a celebration, and they would invite us to come be a part of that. Mm-hmm. And so we would go, with joy. We were happy to go, and we felt honored to be invited. And I remember one time we had some people visiting us from out of town, some friends over. And so I felt so bad because like, oh man, they invited us to this party and I'm bringing guests. I didn't know what to do. I felt bad. So I went over beforehand and I asked the older, his name is Uncle Pat is what we call him, but Lung Pat in Thai. And so I asked him, I said, hey, I'm so sorry. We've got our friends in town. Is it okay if they come with us? I don't want to leave them out. And he was like, absolutely, yes. And that happened multiple times. What I finally realized is that the more people that I brought, the more honor he felt, because that meant the more people he could show hospitality to. It was so important for him to be hospitable and to care for people and to welcome them into his home, to feed them and give them food. Like he loved that. And so I got to the point where I was like, I would invite extra people and bring them in, and he would be so happy and thrilled that I was bringing more guests, because that meant he got to take care of them. And I was like, man, what an example of hospitality and care and providing for people. And lots of times he wouldn't even eat. He was just so happy that people were there enjoying the food. And he was just like walking around talking to people. You know, he had his homemade rice wine, just like you said. It's just so awesome. Like a really good example for me of what it means to be hospitable to people and welcome them into your home and care for them is really awesome.
Too, like what JRuss was saying before about tensions, it's very easy to look really quick at the 3 seconds played on the media and say, oh my God, China's so angry. Someone's so angry. These cultures, and like I haven't been to Iran, but obviously I've been to the Middle East. They got thousands of years of culture in there and respect and tradition. And I think like one mistake that I do this all the time. Look, as a Westerner, I'm can be like a bull at a gate. Hey, let's just get it out in the open. Let's air it out. Let's get it blunt. And that doesn't fly. There's a lot of tradition, like you said, and respect and maybe a bit of patience that we need to exercise when you're dealing with China and even experience it with the Middle East. There's some things like cultural barriers. We can't just I love the idea of a global economy. I really do. And I think that, you know, keep the clothes here or the watches here or the chocolate there. That's all cool. Keep, you know, but there is cultural differences and respect isn't that hard to give. Yeah, I think sometimes we might just take it a little bit for granted or it's there and it should be acknowledged. And I think that's what, you know, sort of what you're saying too. Like everyone's just people at the end of the day. If you've got great neighbors, like I've got great neighbors and I've got their phone numbers and they'll do anything for me. And it doesn't matter what they are or what their heritage are. They are just people, and it is the same in China. They are just people with families, and I know their families, and it's great.
So, you know, Rob told the story that I asked for about kind of the culture and the people, and he said something that reminded Chris of this beautiful story and sharing meals and how the respect that guy felt. And in the middle of Rob's beautiful story, and it's great that Chris got a beautiful story out of it as well, I thought of something, but it had to do more with Zoolander. And when he said sweatshops, I thought, I wonder if Chris more closely resembles Mugatu or Ballstein.
Micronesia.
Dude, that is awesome. Are you still there, JRuss? You froze. We lost JRuss. His internet's crappy this week.
Okay.
He's on a satellite.
I didn't know that about you in Thailand. That's amazing.
Yeah. We I mean, it was such a wonderful part of our life, and we were just talking about Thailand today. I was talking about it with my wife. I was saying, hey, maybe one day we'll move back over to Thailand, and I can because there's 2 drop zones over there, but one of them is doing really well. Is just flourishing, doing great. Actually, the course that we're about to put out, Pete Allen, he's been over there a few times, and so I told my wife, like, hey, maybe one day we'll move back to Thailand, and I can go over there and work at the drop zone in Thailand and help out and just be a part of that community and stuff. And it's a great place.
You know, actually, on Pete, I've only met him once, and how I met him was really cool. So I moved back from the Middle East to my hometown here in Ocean Grove, and the drop zone opened up. So the drop zone had closed when I started jumping. So I went 5 years where I was like, imagine if that was still a drop zone. How cool would that be? And then I moved back and it opened, and it's 5 kilometers down the road, a few miles. So I'm at my house. I think I'd started paragliding a bit. So I just come back from paragliding, and I got a phone call from a local drop zone saying, hey, there's a coach here. He really wants to go surfing. Have you got any spare boards? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Yep, just tell him to come around. And then I get some text messages from some people. Oh, there's this guy down here. Yeah, he's on a 60 Petra or 60 Valkyrie or something. He's amazing. Yeah. I'm like, he's a flat flyer though. You know, just my friends sort of ragging. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm not jumping today. I just finished flying. Anyway, I get another text saying, right, he's at 96 Orton Street. Just, can you drop the board off? Do you know where that is? And I'm like, yeah, I'm at 90 Orton Street. I'll walk it down to him. So I grabbed my surfboards. I walked two doors down, and he's obviously staying in Airbnb. And out comes this guy I never met before, and he's just stoked. He's like, "Oh, thanks, man. This is going to be awesome." Like, so to put it in perspective, our house is, oh my god, like what's maybe like 200 yards from the water's edge. So Pete just grabs a board, goes running down, goes for a surf. In the morning, he's dropped it off at my house and he's fled the scene. And I had a great little convo with this man who wanted to borrow my surfboard and go and do this thing. And it was fun. I didn't really realize it until I started, like, when I met Holly from the edge. And I'm like, gosh, your name's so familiar. Oh, yeah, my dad's famous. Yeah. I mean, he's, you're probably just from skydiving. I'm like, no, that's not it. No, and then I thought on it, it was like, oh my God, he's taken my surfboard before. I know who he is. And then she lit up and she's like, oh my God, he loves surfing so much more than skydiving. I was like, yeah, he was a legend. So when you said, yeah, Pete's doing the course, all I ever think of is this cool little man who was like terrorizing our drop zone on his 60 Valkyrie or something, and he took my surfboard for the day. Yeah.
Okay, wait. You said a phrase that I do not know what you're talking about. I'm gonna show my ignorance, but you said a flat flyer, and JRuss laughed like he knew what you were talking about. What does that mean?
Come on.
I don't know.
Oh, JRuss, you'll have to. Are you being serious?
Come on. No, I'm serious. I'm ignorant.
A belly flyer.
A flat
belly
flyer.
Yeah.
Oh my
No,
gosh,
not
that's
at
an
all.
awesome term. A flat
Belly
flyer.
flyer.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Is that what that means? A belly flyer? Or is a flat flyer?
That's cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of foreigners, the non-U.S. skydivers, call them flat flyers.
Oh, that's funny. I'm gonna start saying it for sure.
Flatties.
No. They're tummy flyers. We got to change the culture.
I say belly
Tummy
down.
flyers.
We say head down,
Tummy flyers. Okay.
head down, head up, belly down.
Did you guys?
Cool.
I was only gone for a little bit, but I was curious just to ask Rob, how is your skydiving career? How are you and Shelly still jumping? And I could tell some funny stories, but I'd rather hear from you.
No, look. So when we got back, I jumped pretty heavily from 2014 through to 2016 or 17, and then 17 I took up paragliding. I went jumping one day, and basically I started letting go of toggles and things on my canopy, and I was like, whoa. You don't do that on the skydiving gear, you do it on the paragliding gear. So I felt a real need to consolidate. And like skydiving, like surfing before it, I basically took the next few years and heavily devoted to paragliding. So we did get back into jumping. We don't do many. We do them with it, like we do them together and with our best friends, and that's about it but that's a lot of that too is because when we had our little girl, Charlotte, we've just made a conscious decision to, it changed a few things. We don't jump together all that often at all. But we do jump, just definitely not at the same level because, we have surfing and paragliding. And the reason those sometimes get priority over skydiving is because of the effort involved. Like when you have a young family, it's very much, or a small business, how much time can I exercise today? So with surfing and paragliding, I'm able to jump out there sort of at a bit more of a whim, like, and get it going and not have to do the waiting around and things. But yeah, so like we're jumping tomorrow, but it's like we have to really plan it ahead of time to get it done. But that's just, yeah, Shell was at the tunnel doing VFS the other night, so we still get down to the tunnel a bit. But yeah, it's part of life. And I think that was part of the plan though too, like we didn't get into jumping to sort of do everything we did and then hang it all up and sell gear. It was just like, hey, it's a long-term plan. We're here for a while. This is just a slow period. It is what it is. So we wrestled with it for a bit and then accepted it. And it's, we're just happy to still be doing it.
Cool. I feel like my connection
Give
is
me one of your stories. Come on. Throw me under the bus.
one of the stories. Is Chris, are you still there? Your video's frozen for me. Are you still in the feed?
I'm still here.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was going to say that you were our alternate on Nexus for a while. And I think that you were very reluctant to even accept our invitation to be our alternate. And it was fun working with you for those years. But and I don't know if, because my internet connection is so bad right now but I do have to point out that your wife still clearly holds a title for, I think, kind of scaring the shit out of me the most in the tunnel. That I'm standing on the net. Everything's been good. She's been coming up off the net when we were trying to teach all the women, get them ready for the women's record. She's been coming up off the net, and I say, hey, Shelly, look, I'm going to just sit with your feet on the net, sit fly, and I'm going to hold you, and you're going to backflip to head down. And she looks at me blank for a sec, and then just tears start streaming down, and she starts sobbing in the middle of the tunnel. And I was like, oh, God, I don't know what just happened, but yeah, that's still a story that I like to tell.
We still tell that story too, mate. And the story goes a bit more like this. So Shelley and JRuss are in the middle of the tunnel, and JRuss is trying to teach her how to cartwheel transition, and she's just done 2 or 3, and she's shaking with fear, and he's like, go again, and and she just sucks it off, and yeah, so yeah, I think that's definitely mutual, and if I had her here, she'd be laughing a bit.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, so I want to ask you, starting a business, it's a big deal. And I've had a few different businesses throughout my life. I had a pizza restaurant in Thailand. I didn't do it by myself. It was with a group of people. I have a graphic design business that I still have. I had a lawn mowing business in college, different things that I've tried, but Krāv, this business and what I'm doing really is, I think, the biggest kind of leap of faith, or I don't know, it's the biggest thing that I've ever done. For you and starting this business, Manufactory, what have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about life?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what has it taught you starting a business from scratch and investing yourself? I'm sure you invested a lot of your own, maybe I don't know, your life's part of your own savings, or I don't know what you did, but
there's certainly it's a hard question to answer, because I've enjoyed it, and I could never, unfortunately, if I had to go back and work with someone, it would be very difficult. And I think that personally, I'm just not suited to that. And I think what it taught me is that it taught me a lot more about myself and what's important personally to me, and how I react. So like when I worked with JRuss and at Skydive Dubai, a lot of my frustration simply came from not being able to move fast enough, and having to, and so that wasn't from a place of impatience, but it was sort of like I didn't understand the necessary or the need for roadblocks and things like that. So one of the great things about having your own business, and we designed it this way, was that, hey, the ship has always remain agile. It doesn't matter. If we have to pivot, we have to pivot fast. We can't be one of these companies that becomes slow. So like if I go back a bit there, and JRuss is like, hey, do you want to be a North Face? I'd love to, but I'm really resistant to, like, how do you get someone to be faster reactive? Because when customers' needs change or my needs change, it has to be able to pivot. What I don't like is being held hostage to something so I don't have a problem with a desk or a 9 to 5 if it suits my passion. Some people ask me to still today, how do you sit at a desk? How do you do a design job? How do you do that? And it's like, again, it's a passion for me. So there's parts of starting a business that really, they're difficult to wrestle with. Like, I hate doing admin or finances or something. Like, I don't like that stuff. Up until recently, I loathed social media. Now, there's ways around those, and they usually come from investment and getting people to, how do you delegate? How do you hire more people? And it's not always possible, but I think it teaches you, you've got to do all the good and the bad. And there's no way, there's no education out there, there's no university out there that will teach you running your own business, because running your own business is everything from like you said, the pizza restaurant before. What's so funny is that you mentioned you had a pizza restaurant. I made pizzas up until I was 26. Like, I love hospitality. You said you're a graphic designer. I've been designing my whole life. I hate mowing lawns, so you'll never think we don't cross on that one there. But essentially, like, running your own business, like there's a cafe across the road from my office, right? She bought the cafe when she was 23, and she's had the cafe now for 5 years, this girl. And she'll often sort of say, like, there's nothing else I could do, and I'm only a young business owner. And for me, in my head, all I think is, oh my God, I'd hire you any day of the week, because the guts it takes, the organization it takes, it's got nothing over a piece of paper that says you completed a degree or something. It's nothing. I just don't think that there's any skills. Like, Shelley and I will also talk, like, my background, my education, I went to private schools my whole life and university. Now, she didn't do very well at high school. She really didn't enjoy it, and she didn't finish high school, but she took other steps outside of it to then complete education and do the same fashion course as I did. So what's so funny is that when we have these sort of talks these days about what's our little girl going to do or how important is school, it's like, in my mind, Shelley's extremely successful in personal life, in sports life, and in professional life, and she didn't have to do any of this sort of education. It all came from just the ability and the drive and the motivation to want to do something and that also comes from the perseverance. Like Shell wouldn't have sucked up those tears with JRuss if she didn't really want to do it. So I think that it sort of just teaches you, like, how much you really want to do things. Starting the business, would I advise anyone to start a business? Of course I would. I'd say, like, but you have to go all in. Unfortunately, I've even started businesses and side hustles that I'm not committed, and they don't work. My first business I ever had, I shut it because, like, and I deemed it as a failure for 6 or 7 years. Like, I was like, it was a failure. But looking back on it now, it taught me how committed I had to be and the level of sacrifice I had to make. So that business was in jumpsuits. I was like one of those guys who had 100 jumps. I was like, I'll make jumpsuits for everyone. And I was making jumpsuits while all my mates were jumping. And I was like, this sucks. So I gave away that business, but then thought, that's a massive failure. And it wasn't until later that I realized, like, no, it wasn't a failure. It definitely taught you a lot how committed you have to be. So now today, 10 years on, I've only got, 2,500 jumps. All my friends have 10,000 jumps. So, like, there's a sacrifice I had to make there.
No, that's awesome.
Business is epic. It's awesome.
That's really cool, Rob. And you made me think of something. My wife, she's a third grade teacher, and something that she says to her students pretty regularly is that struggle comes before growth. And I've really tried to adopt that mindset and keep that in mind, with business, but with skydiving as well, with progression, with getting better, with learning. It doesn't matter, anything. Struggle comes before growth, and the value of struggle. And there's been times with this business with Krāv where I've found myself, like, in the middle of the night waking up and being like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Like, am I an idiot? Did I just completely, why did I do this? How did I get here? Am I just a complete moron? I shouldn't have done this. But then I look around and I'm like, that I see, like, all the relationships and the people that I've been able to connect with and the friends that I've made. And then I'll get a message from some skydiver, on the other side of the world, and be like, oh, I've been watching the courses. They're so awesome. And it's so great. Thank you for doing this. And, it's just that, like, those things, that struggle, how it really, it's hard in the moment and it does not feel good. Just like working out at the gym or whatever, but then when you push through it and you keep going and you feel the benefit on the other side and the value, you're so thankful that you persevered, so thankful that you went through with it. And then especially when
those comments too from people reaching out are super important,
man. So valuable. yeah, it's really, really awesome. So that's cool, you know.
But I would say, like, if you are feeling a little bit, like you said, out of depth, or hey, you know, oh, is this right? Is this wrong? To me, they're a sign that you're doing what you want to do. Because if you were following someone else's path, if you honestly were just like, yep, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Yep, another box checked. I don't know if that's why people start businesses. I think that they, you know, I know I did, and I started to change things. So I've had to get used to that. You know?
Yeah.
Nope.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I just unmuted him. That was awesome.
But yeah,
Like
so that's so good. It's like,
you're
where'd he
giving
go?
like this
Why has he changed his shirt?
heartfelt. That's awesome. Sorry, keep going.
Oh,
Rob.
yeah. Oh, I've lost my mojo, JRuss. I've lost it. No, but honestly, I think you just have to wrestle with the like once you've made comfort of the fact that things, the path hasn't been tread before, then you're really clear on your goal setting like that, and your purpose. And I've heard about it a lot before, and a lot of it sounds cliche. Oh, your purpose, your goals, are you doing the right things? Honestly, I'd just say listen to your gut. A lot of the time, you know, you'll know, and a lot of those thoughts, I think, just come at night. You've had a big hard day. Yeah, I've had enough of thinking about the finances. I've had enough of the complaints or the not complaints, or things aren't moving as fast as I want. Usually, if you can just get your mind to relax, wake up the next morning, like within a few minutes, I've found like that is going to be the right decision. Like your head is so clear. And I don't even make decisions these days straight away. I've had to really learn to not be a yes man. I've had to learn like, yep, I can help you, or I might be able to help you. I'll get back to you in a day. I need to think about it. No matter what, I have to think about it. And I think that's really important, especially when you start to own a business where you're generating money or you're taking people's money. You've got to be really smart about your decisions. And yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. JRuss, what's on your mind? What are we missing? What do we need to dig into?
No, to be honest, I'm just happy to be here. I think I'm reconnected. It's been a rough go, but I was really glad to hear what I could of Rob's thoughts about kind of how the business has developed and changed him, and it's a big journey to run your own business. I didn't know you made pizzas. That made me kind of chuckle. I didn't know that's why you were in Thailand, or part of you being in Thailand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the main reason we were in Thailand was like church work, missionary work, but part of that was we thought it'd be nice to have a business to connect with people in a natural way, a way to be a part of the community and help kind of provide like actually be a positive input into the community, not just be there hanging out. So, and we made really, really good pizza, like hand tossed, brick oven, like wood fired pizza. We made sauce from scratch every day, dough from scratch every day. Dude, it was good pizza.
Yeah.
I love pizza.
We still cook pizzas every week. We got our pizza oven. We taught our little girl, Shelly, like we love it. That's probably the one meal, like if we go back to like, hey, let's all get together. We all get together for pizzas and make pizzas. Yeah.
Rob, is there anything kind of that you see for skydivers and gear or apparel that like kind of where do you see it going? Is there anything that you see in your mind that you kind of wish maybe more people would utilize or things that we're kind of missing out on, you know?
I feel like, so for me personally, at 10 years in the business now, we focus a lot on like our wholesale customers and uniforms. And one thing I don't like is that I feel like I shouldn't say that I don't like. Well, one thing I wish I didn't plan for is we got really engrossed with like, let's get away from cheap, less quality t-shirts. You know, they're really like they're becoming unsustainable. Hardly anyone wears them. Let's make some durable product. That was the base. And now that we've done that with jerseys, now, unfortunately, I feel like we haven't pivoted fast enough, or everyone, like the bell curve, everyone's caught up on the downside now, and now it's almost like there's a problem with unsustainable, like, hey, yeah, we can make those, and so now unfortunately we have a similar problem to when we started, except it's not t-shirts, it's jerseys, where people are just like, they are the new norm, but at the same time not all jerseys are made equal. So I feel like we need to re-innovate again, and it needs to happen with a lot more items too. No lifestyle brand has ever really been successful in skydiving, and there's a few theories why, but I feel like the lifestyle portion of a brand, like for me, I want to wear stuff while I skydive for sure, but I want to wear it when I'm outside of skydiving. I don't necessarily want to always have to put on someone else's brand. I still want to be associated with my community. So I definitely think that there's going to be more lifestyle products out there, but like at the moment, everyone's just the same thing, t-shirts and hoodies. And I know that's great. It's a good way to get into make your next 10-pack of jump tickets, but it's not really a business there. So for us, what we would love to see, I mean, we're already seeing other people mimic the jersey thing, but how about we start to do some innovation elsewhere? I've seen a couple of jumpsuit brands out there that are interesting, but I haven't really seen them get off the ground. Now we're about to release a jumpsuit that I've held back from jumpsuits for a long time personally, and it could go back to like when I first made them, but I was always like, if you can't do something better, don't bother doing it. You know, like we're not going to make a wingsuit just yet because, hey, we're not going to beat the people who are out there, and there's no real need. Like, they're doing the best they can. But we've definitely seen an opportunity in not just our products, but we're about to put out a pretty big game changer, which I believe is around measuring. So one reason we definitely stayed away from custom apparel is because you put too much reliance and sort of give the people who don't know how to measure, you know, like, hey, I've spent 20 years in fashion. How do you expect someone who's never held a measuring tape before to measure themselves? So I've fixed hundreds of suits that have come off the production line of other manufacturers, or they've been worn. It's like, oh, it doesn't fit me right. I didn't measure myself. And the blame always goes to manufacturers, or it goes to the dealers. So I didn't really want to put ourselves in that position where we're like giving the rights for a complaint to the customer firsthand. And I think that if you had one person who ran around the world and measured every single person, what you have there is consistency. So we've actually developed a way to just get consistency. So if your measurements, what that gives us, the ability is that if we measure everyone the exact same way, we know that the problem could be, on our end, not the user's end. So we're able to fix it. Whereas at the moment, the measuring scene, and there's, 100 videos you can watch, they're all different. Someone's things are different. Someone holds it different. 1 finger, 2 fingers under the tape, no fingers. And then there's personal preference. So what I'm trying to say here is I think that the way forward for skydiving apparel is using what's at our current advantage, which is artificial intelligence, and making sure that comes into the play to make life easier for people, like consistent measuring and more sort of, hey, this is how we designed it to be worn, not your personal preference to be worn. So I think that there's some good things out there that will come if manufacturers can start to use AI more. And I don't mean about like design platforms and making 3D sketches and pretty colors and stuff. I mean like actually using this technology, the same way like we use similar software to say, hey, how Gyro uses to develop 3D images and fluid dynamics of canopies and how things drape and shape. Like we're in the back end using the softwares and technologies that are out there right now to make the gear better, not just to make money. That's not what we're there for. So if there's things that we do, like there's 10 or 11 years ago, people would use zippers all the time in jerseys. And like, we don't use zippers. Zippers are from cycling. Zippers don't work in skydiving. Or silicon tape. Silicon tape is not sustainable. It goes hard. It doesn't actually do the purpose it's supposed to. So we've been very much always at the forefront of like, we don't do this on purpose. And then we do this stuff on purpose. Like one great thing is we developed this button, and we had to put up with like, I think 12 months or maybe longer of our snaps popping open. Like, you know, no matter how strong the snaps were, like they would pop open in certain places. And instead of just sort of like slapping on, someone said, put a buckle on. We're like, we're not doing a buckle. That's so outdated. Use magnets. You can't use magnets. You know, like we'll find a way. And we did. We persevered and we developed this like incredible button. But what came with it then was like, we had to educate people, you know, hey, it's actually like a locking slide button. And we had to deal with a bunch of people just brute force, like bang, oh, they got delivered. My buttons are broken. It's like, okay. Well, look, we'll put up with it because it's our responsibility to educate you. And we took the steps to educate. But it was that right there. If we go back to the time when you were like running a business, yeah, I had sleepless nights going, like I had everyone in the business, my supply team, all like, change the button back. Why did you make the button so difficult? Change the button back. And I was like, no, this is exactly like when, you know, the iPhone came out and everyone went, where are the buttons on this thing? We've just got to educate people, have faith, you know, like we've got to educate them. And now we don't hear a thing. People who use them, it's an epic button and it solved the popping open problem that we had. So there's again the belief in stuff, but I think that people just have to utilize more technology and then not be so scared to change. Things will change, but they've got to change for the better, I think, not just change for the sake of change.
That's awesome, man.
Excellent. It sounds like you're on the cutting edge of fashion, which I don't know. I guess Mugatu. I haven't decided yet.
Haven't decided yet.
I mean,
and where do you sit on that with the
the files are in the computer. I hope you've seen Zoolander. He's not laughing the way that I feel that you should be laughing.
He's not laughing. Have you seen Zoolander, Rob?
Me, I love Zoolander.
Oh, okay.
Oh, dude, I love it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Owen and Ben, for sure. No, I've got you. My wife's never seen it. That's a bit of a shame. I can't believe that. She shouldn't be allowed into fashion without seeing Zoolander. I can't believe it.
I'm offended.
Hey, what you were talking about earlier, like with business,
Yeah, it's bad.
You know, all the things that just running your own business, actually starting a business and how much you learn in business school. My second son, he just graduated from high school and he's going to go to university and he wants to study business management. And I think that's fine. The school he's going to go to is it's a good school. They have a very good business program. But I actually told him, I said, you know, man, honestly, the best education you can get for business is like, go start a business. Like, and I actually started thinking, I was like, what if you had a business program where you had an amount of money set aside, like, let's just say for the sake of argument, $100,000, and you take a student and you say, okay, this year you get $10,000. I want you to take this $10,000 and start a business. I don't care what the business is. And I actually don't even care if it's successful. All I want you to do is use this $10,000 to start a business and tell me what you learn. You have 6 months to do something. I don't care. Do something with this money that is a business. Yeah. And then you tell me what you learn. And then next year you get $20,000 or $30,000 and you start a business. Again, I don't care if it's successful. I care that you learn what it means to start something and try to make it work and fail. And if you fail, that's awesome. What did you learn from that? You know, and you keep going through until that $100,000, and maybe their fifth or their fourth turn, you know, they're using the last chunk of it and they actually come up with something successful not because the idea is so awesome. Yeah. Probably all the ideas were good ideas, but they didn't know how to do it. You know, man, it's so hard. It is so hard.
I'd be really curious to see what
there's a guy actually. Oh,
you go.
No, go for it, please. Okay.
Well,
there's a guy on Instagram actually who I find that interviews delay. He'll basically he'll stop people in the street and he'll just go, "What's your dream?" And what you can see is that he's willing to offer them a lot. Like it could be money, it could be an exchange of networking or something. But you see people freak out. And all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my God, I could have my dream." And you just see a lot of them just scared to even pursue it. So I don't even know if, like, I know what you're saying, but I would probably, and maybe JRuss is going to say this, question, like, when you're giving someone on a platter, how much do they have to work for it? I mean, if someone, if there was a way to almost vet them more and like, hey, if you really want this, you could get it, but you got to show me, because it's that grit, right? It's like starting with nothing or putting all your chips in at once. Like, how much skin in the game have you got?
Yeah, that's true.
I was just going to say that I'd be curious to see, if your son goes to business school, what are the commonalities that they can teach? And hopefully anybody that's taken up the role of educator has actually done some of it. I guess there's no guarantee of that, but that they understand that there's so many intangibles to that process. But can they, like Rob talked about, I don't like doing the finance part. I don't like doing the admin part, but those are critical parts of the business. And, teaching somebody how to not blow all of their money in the first moment, or, there are payroll companies, there are, you can get preferred checking or whatever, just the things that all businesses kind of share, no matter what the ideas are. And then Chris, when you were talking, it made me think about hearing about the guy, I don't know his name, but the guy that eventually was successful with GoPro, that he had the integrity, I guess, integrity is maybe the right word, to go back and pay back like some number of investors who had believed in him in the past. He had lost all their money, and then he was wildly successful with GoPro, obviously, but had really pretty epically failed on a few things before that. And he paid back a whole bunch of people from those proceeds of GoPro, which I thought was a really cool story. But the reality is that a lot of businesses don't make it, and maybe the schooling stuff that you get can ameliorate that a little bit, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
It should definitely be taught more, I think. It should, like entrepreneurship in general, or just the belief in starting a business, a hustle, anything. I think it should be taught more. Which at the same time, it stops. We need people who don't want their own business. And that's fine. A lot of people don't want it, I think, but it's just a freedom for me. Like it really is a freedom. And that sounds funny, like someone who loves working, 60-hour weeks more, but that's my choice, and that's the freedom in it.
Totally. Yeah. Chris, are we getting there? I'm not saying it,
cool.
but
Yeah.
you can explain it to Rob.
No, you say it. You close. It's all you, man.
Open and close. I'm doing both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rob, usually we go about an hour,
yeah.
and even with my connectivity stuff, it's been closer to an hour and a half. So there's no constraint, but before I have to start pulling out stories from, as my friend Doug Barron would say, when we were riding pterodactyls to altitude, we usually try to sign off. So Chris likes to say that everyone has wasted another hour being with us on the Krāv Show. I think it is far from it. So I always revolt against that, and he can say it next week. But man, it's been awesome. I despite the lag and the fact that I have terrible internet, it's been really great just to hear from you again. And it's not like we've been out of connection, but I don't see I think the last time I saw you personally was maybe 2018 when we were there at the Gold Coast. So hopefully your travels will bring you somewhere, or mine will bring me closer to you, and we can I don't know, sit down and share a meal where nobody gets one thing and we all eat a lot of stuff.
I think so. Look, I'll be in the US for PIA in 2025. So at Florida,
Okay.
looking very forward to that. So maybe we can do it over some Cuban food or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Excellent. Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Yeah, Rob, thanks very much. Thanks for sharing everything. It's great to hear about the process and your travels and some different perspectives on the way the world's working.
Yeah, thank you guys. And that was awesome. It's fun to talk to you and
Cheers.
hear all the stories. Thanks, JRuss.
Yep. See you guys.